There comes a time in every person's life when two paths open up before him. One leads to mediocrity and disappointment, the other to boundless growth and greatness. Which one to choose is up to you. In the next few minutes, you will discover 3 amazing techniques inspired by Neville Goddard's teachings that can dramatically change your perception of reality. You'll learn how you can rethink the past, how to start living your desired future today, and most importantly, how to break free from the shackles that keep you in the confines of a familiar but tight simulation. But before you dive into this knowledge, ask yourself an important question. Are you ready for a profound change? If you are eager to stop being a passive observer and start actively creating the life of your dreams, then keep watching. So, you're ready for transformation. But have you ever wondered why some people are able to make their dreams come true with ease, while others face constant challenges? The answer lies in a deep understanding of the nature of reality itself. Neville Goddard, a spiritual leader whose ideas were ahead of his time, was able to lift the veil on our modeled world. His teachings can be the key that unlocks the door to your limitless potential. Neville Goddard, an insightful mystic and spiritual teacher of the 20th century, offered a revolutionary concept about the nature of reality. He argued that the world around us is nothing more than a reflection of the depths of our consciousness, like a dynamic projection on a movie screen. Think of the mind as a powerful projector, continuously transmitting our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations onto life's screen. This is how Goddard explained the essence of our existence as a simulation generated by our own minds. To illustrate the profound impact of Goddard's ideas, let me tell the story of Sarah, a talented but unrecognized artist. For years, she tried unsuccessfully to find buyers for her work until she discovered Goddard's teachings and decided to put them into practice. Sarah began to actively visualize herself as a successful artist, feeling the joy and satisfaction of being recognized and selling her creations. She immersed herself in this imaginary state, convinced of its reality. A few months later, the dream came true. Her first solo exhibition was held, where all the paintings were sold out. Sarah, in essence, cracked the matrix of her reality by making a transformation in her own consciousness. Central to Goddard's teachings is the assertion that consciousness is the only true reality. Everything we experience in the material world is a direct reflection of our inner state. A look in a mirror is a perfect reflection of the beholder, and this principle is reflected in human interaction with the world around us. Like a mirror, the external world reflects internal beliefs and assumptions with remarkable accuracy, forming a kind of feedback loop between consciousness and reality. To further understand this relationship, we can draw an analogy with a computer program. Consciousness acts as the source code that defines the logic and structure of the program, while physical reality is the visual representation of the program on the screen. Just as changing the source code leads to changes in the content displayed, transforming thoughts and beliefs can transform life experience. It is this principle that underlies the teachings of Goddard, who argued that humans have the ability to hack the simulation of reality and rewrite it at will. The question naturally arises, if consciousness has such power, why doesn't life always conform to the ideal? The answer lies in the fact that most people create their reality unconsciously, guided by outdated programs and limiting beliefs inherited from the past. However, once a person realizes the mechanism of this system, he or she gains the ability to consciously shape the desired reality. Imagine a viewer immersed in watching a movie in a theater. So engrossed in the story, he forgets about his physical surroundings and completely dissolves into what is happening on the screen. Similarly, most people live their lives absorbed in dramas and vicissitudes, forgetting that they are the creators of this projection. Goddard's legacy can be compared to a friendly pat on the shoulder, as if reminding us that life is a theater where everyone plays a role, but more importantly, Everyone is the projectionist of their own destiny. By mastering and applying the principles laid down by Goddard, it becomes possible to see the hidden code underlying reality itself. The attentive observer begins to notice a direct correlation between one's thoughts, feelings, and the events that occur in one's life. Assumptions about themselves and the world around them begin to manifest as active shapers of all things. It is like magic glasses through which the invisible structure of the modeled reality shines through. And herein lies the fascinating point. Once the code is discerned, it is possible to change it. Man is no longer a puppet in the hands of a seemingly random and chaotic world. On the contrary, he becomes the conscious architect of his life experience. It becomes possible to rewrite the program of one's life, choosing new thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions that are in harmony with the desired reality. And when one is on the threshold of recreating one's reality, a profound question arises that begs the question: what if even the thoughts that seem to be his own are actually an integral part of the overarching simulation? Imagine a universe where your underlying beliefs are merely a set of program codes scrupulously designed to keep you within the confines of a limited existence. This is not just a speculative construct, but the reality in which we all exist, as Neville Goddard's teachings assert. Think about it. How often have you heard phrases like, "money doesn't lie in the road," or "joy is fleeting"? These are not just harmless sayings, but elements of a complex system of social programming that functions as laws of our simulation, constraining our potential in ways that are invisible to us. It is as if we were characters in a computer game, oblivious to our role. In the game, there are rules, axioms that we take as immutable truths about the universe. But what if those rules are just a piece of software designed to keep us operating within a given framework? Let's look at this in more detail. Imagine a child with a passion for drawing. He shows his work to an adult who declares that art is no way to live. Imagine as if some digital code penetrates into the depths of your consciousness. Unnoticeably, a person begins to accept it as truth, becomes imbued with it, and his creative aspirations gradually fade. Or perhaps, since childhood, he hears the phrase, "we can't afford it." Over time, this simple statement turns into a deeply rooted belief related to money and fear. It's like a virus infecting mental software, constantly running in the background and influencing every financial decision. These beliefs form what Goddard would characterize as scarcity mentality and victim mentality. They are like invisible shackles, holding people within a reality that is far inferior to their potential. People begin to perceive the world as a place with limited resources and opportunities, where they are at the mercy of external circumstances. What is most surprising, however, is that, according to Goddard, this limiting belief system exists not only in the mind, but also shapes physical reality. It must be remembered that consciousness represents the one reality with which we are dealing. Consequently, when a person is imbued with the belief of scarcity and limitation, this is what they begin to experience in their daily life. It can be compared to if all people walk around with special glasses that filter their perception of the world around them in a certain way. These glasses are programmed in a special way, with all limiting beliefs and socially conditioned attitudes embedded in them. And everything a person sees inevitably passes through the filter of these lenses, multiplying their distorted and limited view of reality. However, there is no need to be discouraged. In fact, this is incredibly positive news. Why? Because if everyone's reality is shaped by their own consciousness, and their consciousness in turn has been programmed by limiting beliefs, then all that needs to be done is to reprogram their consciousness. This is where Goddard's techniques come to the rescue. They are like cheat codes that allow you to crack the simulation of reality. Using these techniques, anyone can begin to identify and change the very limiting beliefs that have previously ruled their lives automatically. Just imagine being able to take off those glasses of limiting beliefs and see the world as it really is, full of limitless possibilities and inexhaustible abundance. Imagine having the ability to rewrite the code of your reality, creating a life that is fully aligned with your deepest desires and highest potential. Goddard's teachings have extraordinary power, empowering humanity to break free from the shackles of social programming and discover their true potential as conscious architects of their own destiny. The realization of the boundaries we inhabit becomes the starting point for a carefully planned escape. Contrary to expectations, however, this breakthrough requires neither elaborate plots nor cunning devices. The most powerful weapon in each person's arsenal is silence. A legitimate question arises. Can mastering the art of mental silence become the key to controlling the very fabric of reality? Imagine a picture. A person immersed in the silence of a room, with his eyes closed, concentrating on his breathing. Suddenly, he feels a change, as if the noise of the mundane is receding, leaving in return a deep sense of peace. It is in this state, according to those in the know, that the path to discovering one's true potential opens up. Meditation ceases to be just a way to relax, becoming a powerful tool for breaking the simulation we used to call reality. By quieting our minds, we create the space we need to manifest our true self. This process can be compared to cleaning out a cluttered room, when by getting rid of the clutter, we can finally see the beauty that has always been there. So how does this practice, which can transform the inner world, work? Let's imagine a person's consciousness as a quiet pond. When waves of anxiety and confusion run across its surface, it becomes almost impossible to see what is hidden in the depths. But when the water surface calms down, all the splendor of the underwater world opens up. This is the effect of meditation on the human mind. It calms the turbulent streams of thoughts, allowing you to look into the innermost corners of your true self. To feel it on your own experience, you can perform a simple exercise. First, you should take a comfortable posture and close your eyes. Then you should take a deep breath through the nose, feeling how the abdomen fills with air. For a moment, holding your breath, you should slowly exhale through the mouth. While breathing, you can imagine how warm golden light penetrates into every cell of the body with each inhalation. And with each exhalation, the tension and worries go away. As you continue this exercise for a few minutes, you should simply observe your breath without trying to control or change it. At this stage, many people have a question: how to calm the mind, which is constantly rushing around like a restless animal. However, do not despair, because this is a completely normal phenomenon. The mind is like an untrained dog. It needs training to learn to stay calm. Imagine thoughts arising in the mind like light clouds sliding leisurely across the vast sky. The important thing is not to cling to them, but only to recognize their fleeting appearance and let them float away. As you deepen your mindfulness practice, the ability to maintain this inner stillness will become more natural and effortless. Regular meditative practices serve as a powerful tool for establishing a strong connection to the source of inner strength and wisdom, much like clearing the lens through which we perceive the world around us. By immersing oneself in the practice of meditation, one can notice how the intrusive noise of simulation, the endless chatter generated by social conditioning and external influences, gradually subsides. This chaos is replaced by a deep source of inexhaustible creativity, acute intuition, and the ability to consciously manifest what is desired. This is where the most exciting journey begins. By cultivating inner silence, one actually gains the ability to change the code of one's own reality. It must be remembered that consciousness plays a key role in shaping reality. By changing one's state of consciousness through meditative practices, one is essentially reprogramming the simulation itself. Imagine this analogy. When a person is completely absorbed in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, he or she is like a character in a dynamic video game, automatically reacting to every event and stimulus around him or her. But in meditation, it is as if the person takes a step back and becomes a player, someone who takes control of the game and determines its rules. One ceases to be a prisoner of circumstances and becomes the architect of one's own destiny. As one deepens in the practice of mindfulness, amazing synchronicities begin to appear in one's life, those subtle coincidences that seem not just a coincidence, but a sign of destiny. This is a sure sign that the individual is tuning into the unified rhythm of the universe, connecting to the fundamental matrix of the universe. However, it is important to remember that it is not about escaping from reality, but about full interaction with it, but from the position of awareness and inner strength. Meditative practices help to gain greater awareness in everyday life, to notice the beauty and potential hidden in every moment. So, is the reader ready to take the first step toward cracking the code of reality? You can start with as little as 5 minutes of meditation daily. As the practice progresses, it will become apparent that this simple act of being in silence is the most revolutionary action one can take, for it is not only the mind that changes, but the entire reality around it. Meditation can transform the present, but what about the burdens of the past, the awkward situations, missed opportunities, and painful memories that continue to haunt? In this case, you should prepare to immerse yourself in a technique that can rewrite a person's personal history. Imagine a fascinating picture. A viewer watching his favorite TV show Spellbound suddenly encounters a scene of acute rejection. What is his reaction? He instinctively reaches for the remote and presses the rewind button in an effort to avoid the unpleasant moment. Now imagine that a similar possibility is available in real life, allowing you to rewrite your own memories. This is the essence of the revision technique developed by the eminent thinker Neville Goddard. It's like having a universal remote control that can manipulate the past. But how does this amazing method work? Actually, it's quite simple. You need to choose a painful memory, close your eyes, and mentally rethink it, imagining the desired outcome of events. This is similar to the role of a director who has gained full control over his life movie, with the right to reshoot any scenes that cause dissatisfaction. Let's try to put this technique into practice. Remember the case when a job interview turned out to be a complete failure. Nervousness, hesitations in speech, the feeling of total failure. All this remained in the memory of an unpleasant residue. But now the magic begins. Close your eyes and mentally return to the same situation. This time, however, imagine that you enter the office with self-confidence, flawlessly answer all the questions, and leave the interview with a coveted job offer. Feel the excitement, pride, and relief overflowing. Allow the positive feelings to become firmly embedded in your mind. This may seem a bit artificial, but that's the point. According to Goddard, this approach is not mere pretense, but a process of readjusting the brain and transforming the energy field surrounding a particular event. It is analogous to fixing the faulty program code in your personal life simulation. It's natural to object that it doesn't correspond to actual events, and that's fair enough. However, it is important to remember that, as mentioned earlier, consciousness shapes reality. Therefore, by changing the perception of past events, a person actually changes reality itself. But the question arises, why bother revisiting the past? Isn't it more reasonable to focus on the prospects of the future? The answer lies in the fact that past experiences are like outdated software applications that function imperceptibly in the subconscious mind and influence thoughts, emotions, and actions, often without even realizing it. Revisiting these experiences frees up mental space and frees up energy for new, more promising ideas. Goddard, a profound thinker of his time, was of the opinion that diving into the abyss of past mistakes is akin to repoisoning one's own soul. Rather than giving a wound a chance to heal, it is like tearing off the healing crust again and again, preventing the natural process of recovery. Revision, in his view, is a kind of spiritual antibiotic that can accelerate the healing of these soul wounds, cleansing them of the pus of regret and self-abuse. But revision is not just a mindless erasing of negative memories from one's mind. It is an alchemical process of turning them into valuable fuel that feeds the future. That awkward moment when the ground went out from under your feet is transformed into a powerful lesson in resilience and self-control. A missed opportunity that once seemed like the end of the road is transformed into a stepping stone, leading to something even grander and more exciting. A person doesn't just make cosmetic changes to their past, they completely reshape the fabric of their life, creating a new, inspiring narrative. The most amazing thing about this practice is that it applies to both large-scale life events and small, everyday troubles. Had an argument with a loved one? Revisit this episode in your mind, turning it into a dialogue filled with love and understanding. Awkwardly spilled your morning coffee on your favorite shirt? Replay the situation so that you can catch the cup at the last moment, avoiding the embarrassing stain. The more often a person practices reconsideration, the more natural and organic this process becomes, turning into a kind of automatic reaction to negative events. The reader may have a legitimate question. Sounds great, but does it really work in practice? The answer lies in the countless testimonies of people who regularly apply revision in their lives and report astounding results. Not only do they report improved emotional well-being and relief from the burden of the past, but also positive changes in their current circumstances. It is as if they have cracked some kind of cheat code that unlocks access to a happier and more harmonious life. Analyzing the path that has been traveled is just a starting point. Now, let us visualize ourselves as triumphant, already tasting the fruits of a desirable life. Feel it with every cell, inhale the aroma of success, savor its taste. This is not just indulging in dreams, but a powerful spiritual practice that can transform the very essence of our being. Are you ready to master this technique? Discover the profound concept of living in the end, a revolutionary method that Neville Goddard believes can rewrite the laws of reality itself. Imagine for a moment that the future you've been dreaming about is not an ephemeral possibility, but a tangible reality you can walk into right now. Sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? The essence of living in the end is to fully immerse yourself in the feeling of realizing your aspiration. It's not just visualizing the coming triumph, but experiencing it in all its colors in your imagination until your subconscious mind accepts it as truth. This is where the magic is born. Imagine that your mind is a blooming garden and your thoughts and feelings are seeds ready to sprout. When you live in the end, you sow this garden with the seeds of your desired reality, irrigating them with the life-giving moisture of faith, and warming them with the rays of concentrated attention. So how do we make this a reality? It all starts with an elementary but effective technique. Find a quiet moment during the day, close your eyes, and visualize the fulfillment of your cherished desire. If you aspire to a brilliant career, feel the triumph of conquering professional peaks. If your goal is a harmonious romantic relationship, feel the warmth and happiness of union with your ideal life partner. Immerse all your senses in this imaginary picture. What images appear before your eyes? What sounds fill the space around you? What emotions overwhelm you? The more vivid and believable your experience, the more it will affect your subconscious mind. Affirmations, or positive affirmations, can be a powerful tool in this process. Formulate affirmations that reflect your desire as if it has already come true. Instead of saying, "I strive for success," say, "I am successful." Feel the truth of these words as they come out of your mouth. It is important to remember that the goal is not self-deception, but to harmonize your mind with the reality you want to realize. It is quite possible that the reader will have questions about how to deal with the inevitable doubts that may arise in the process of visualizing what you want. Doubts are a natural element of the human experience, and their occurrence should not be seen as an obstacle. It is important to recognize and acknowledge your doubts, but you should not let them dominate your consciousness. Instead, one should gently but persistently bring one's attention back to the feeling of a desire that has already been realized. This process can be likened to training a puppy. Patience and consistency will help the mind settle into a positive state. Impatience is another common problem, especially in today's world where instant results have become the norm. However, it is important to remember that visualizing what one wants involves interacting with the limitless mind of the universe, and therefore one must trust the divine timetable. The human task is to plant the seed of desire and nurture it with care and faith, and the universe will take care of how and when this desire manifests in reality. By practicing living in accordance with one's desire, one essentially reprograms the code of one's reality. This process can be compared to tuning a radio receiver to a certain wave. When a person is in tune with their desire, they naturally attract events and experiences that match their new vibration. This practice goes beyond simple positive thinking and is a profound spiritual technique that recognizes the creative power of consciousness. Once on the threshold of maturity, one realizes that one's aspirations are not external objects, but an integral part of oneself. One only has to imagine that life is not just a series of coincidences, but an eternal theatrical production, where he simultaneously acts as a scriptwriter and a protagonist. What if it were possible to awaken inside this cosmic play and consciously direct the course of events? This is not just a mind game, but a profound truth that Neville Goddard has discovered and conveyed to the world. Goddard asserted that our existence is like a grand play where each of us plays many roles. We are actors living our daily lives on the stage of life, but we are also spectators watching and empathizing with the unfolding drama. And most importantly, we are playwrights creating the story with our minds. Remember how during dreams we create whole worlds, populate them with characters, and live exciting adventures. We are dreamers, but at the same time, we are also each character in our dreams. Goddard suggests that waking life is no different from a dream from which we have not yet fully awakened. The idea that life is an eternal drama goes far beyond mere philosophical speculation to become a powerful tool for profound transformation. When a person realizes that he or she is not just a passive observer, but an active creator of his or her own reality, the world around him or her is transformed. Unexpected difficulties appear as stimuli for personal growth. Failures turn into exciting plot twists, and cherished dreams are perceived as a natural outcome of the unfolding story, which everyone writes himself. But how does one awaken from this mesmerizing dream? Neville Goddard spoke of spiritual crucifixion and subsequent resurrection. Let these terms not inspire fear, for they are merely metaphorical images describing the path of awakening from the illusion of ordinary life. The crucifixion symbolizes the abandonment of the outdated, limited self, that version of ourselves that believes in detachment from desires and powerlessness in the face of circumstances. It signifies the surrender of the ego, which clings desperately to past hurts and fears about the future. This process can be difficult, even painful, but it is a necessary step in spiritual evolution. The resurrection, on the other hand, is a magnificent rebirth that follows a period of transformation. It is the moment when one fully realizes one's true nature, revealing oneself as the creator of one's own dreams. Reality appears to us as a canvas of possibilities where we, overcoming the shackles of previous perceptions of ourselves, unleash our potential as conscious creators. This transformational process is similar to gaining awareness during a dream. At first, caught up in the twists and turns of the unfolding plot, we naively believe that we are only passive participants in what is happening. However, there comes a moment of enlightenment when we suddenly realize, wait a minute, This is just a dream. And then we realize that we are the creators of this dream, with the ability to shape it as we see fit. Similarly, as we awaken to the realization of our true nature in waking life, we gain the ability to consciously create our own reality. No longer are we dominated by external factors, for we realize that they are reflections of our own consciousness. This revelation, this truth that we are the architects of our reality, reveals to us the ultimate cheat code to life, full of hidden possibilities. This means that the power to transform our destiny lies not in external forces or circumstances, but in ourselves, where it has always been and will always be. Realizing this fact dramatically changes our perception of the world. The promotion we so hope for is not just an expectation of recognition of our value from the outside, but an embodiment of the consciousness of a person who already occupies this position, confident in his or her strength and abilities. The love that one dreams of is not just a search for the perfect partner, but first and foremost a work on oneself, a transformation into a person who naturally attracts and maintains harmonious relationships. However, the true essence of this transformation goes far beyond material desires, opening the way to the realization of one's spiritual nature. By accepting the role of the creator of one's own reality, one taps into the limitless source of creativity, love, and wisdom that has always been hidden within. Let's imagine that every day is filled with the realization that you are the author of your own destiny. How would you then write the next chapter of your life? What incredible adventures would you create for yourself? What delightful moments would you give to those around you? It is important to realize that this is not about escaping reality, but about a deep and conscious engagement with it, a stance of conscious creation. This is recognizing the divine game unfolding around us and actively participating in it as a co-creator together with the entire universe. Imagine that you have the keys to control the universe itself in your hands. What's next? Now is the time to ascend to a new level of awareness, to enter the game called life with limitless possibilities. However, it must be remembered that great power also entails great responsibility. Having assumed the role of the creator of one's own reality, one may feel a storm of emotions, from delight to some confusion, which is quite natural, for it begins a spiritual journey that can transform every corner of his existence. One of the first steps on this path can be keeping a manifestation diary, a simple but at the same time powerful tool. This personal document becomes a kind of channel of communication with the universe, where the deepest desires are recorded and the process of their realization is monitored. It is enough to allocate just a few minutes daily to write down your aspirations, not shy in expressions and not afraid to dream big, but most importantly, to describe them as if they have already become a reality. It is important to feel the whole gamut of emotions: joy, gratitude, satisfaction from what you have achieved, putting them into every word you write. However, it should be noted that the manifestation of the desired is not just a mechanical recording of goals with the subsequent expectation of their miraculous fulfillment. It is about achieving harmony between the inner world and a person's aspirations. In this context, the daily practice of revision plays a key role. Every evening, when preparing for bed, it is worth taking a few minutes to analyze the past day. The essence of this practice is to mentally return to situations that did not meet expectations and rethink them. Let's imagine a situation. There was a misunderstanding with a colleague. Close your eyes and recreate this scene in your imagination, but this time visualize how the situation is resolved with tact and understanding. It is important to feel the peacefulness that results from this positive interaction. Thus, there is not just a change in the memory of what happened, but also a transformation of the energy field around this event. This creates favorable conditions for the future. The question naturally arises how to keep this optimistic attitude when life presents difficulties. This is an absolutely legitimate concern. Undoubtedly, there will be obstacles on the way. Doubts may arise, and old habits may try to take over. However, it is important to realize that the hesitation and uncertainty that arise are just echoes of old attitudes, echoes of a passing simulation that is trying to return to a former state. In moments of doubt, it is important to see an opportunity to strengthen the ability to create. As you acknowledge the doubt, express gratitude to it for seeking to protect it, and then gently but confidently remind yourself of your true nature as the creator of your own reality. In such moments, a personal mantra can help, such as, "I am the author of my story, and I choose joy, abundance, and love." As you integrate these practices into your daily life, start small. After all, as we know, Rome wasn't built overnight, and the new reality takes time too. Start with small manifestations, the perfect parking spot, an unexpected compliment from a stranger, a moment of unexpected beauty. As these small desires come to fruition, confidence will grow, and this will naturally lead to the desire to dream bigger. It is important to remember that it is not just a matter of changing external circumstances, but a transformation of the whole being. Self-discovery and spiritual growth is perhaps the most significant task facing every human being. It is a painstaking labor of discovering one's true self, acquiring divine power, and following one's destiny. On this path, a person may face cardinal changes in life. Relationships with others undergo a transformation as a person seeks harmony with his higher self. Unexpectedly, new perspectives open up, ideally corresponding to the expanded consciousness. There is an irresistible desire to change the environment, to gain new experience, to explore unexplored horizons. One should not resist these changes because they testify to the successful reprogramming of one's own reality. An individual ceases to be a passive observer of someone else's story, turning into the author, director, and protagonist of his own cosmic drama. But the most amazing thing is that by awakening to his true nature and beginning to consciously create his reality, a person not only transforms his life, but also makes an invaluable contribution to the spiritual awakening of all mankind. Whenever a person chooses love over fear, when they choose the path of abundance over scarcity, when they strive for joy over suffering, they initiate a powerful flow of elevated consciousness that influences all those around them. As he approaches the end of his life's journey, each individual finds himself on the edge of an entirely new reality. He has had the opportunity to peer behind the veil of simulation and discover a startling truth. He is a dreamer, a creator, a divine entity experiencing his experience in physical form. This knowledge is both a priceless gift and a great responsibility. It is worth looking back at the path we have traveled and wondering, does one continue to play the role prescribed by the simulation, or is one ready to unleash one's potential as a conscious creator? This choice is up to each individual, and it begins here and now. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption shapes reality. Therefore, it is necessary to make a choice with wisdom and awareness. The world around a person will begin to transform as he or she changes internally. His relationships, professional activities, health, and even everyday events will begin to reflect his new state of consciousness. As the person comes into harmony with his true self, he will notice that life will begin to flow with greater ease, grace, and synchronization. Events will unfold as if by magic, opening up new possibilities and perspectives. On the path of life will inevitably arise difficult situations, but now they will not be perceived as barriers, but as incentives for development and sharpening the ability to create their own reality. This new stage is not just about striving for material prosperity or personal ambition, but about discovering the best version of yourself, a person whose actions are dictated by love, empathy, and faith in limitless possibilities. It is important to learn to live each moment, realizing your dual role. On the one hand, you are the creator of the dream. On the other hand, you are part of the dream itself. You are the scriptwriter of your life, and it is in your power to change the story at any time. The essence of conscious creativity is taking full responsibility for your destiny. This implies realizing that every event, every relationship with other people, every situation is a reflection of the inner world. Such understanding gives freedom and at the same time empowers, because it means that by changing oneself, one can transform the surrounding reality. A person ceases to be a hostage of circumstances, becoming the author of his or her own history. This raises the question, how will this fascinating journey continue? A special place in the narrative of spiritual awakening is the daily practice of mindfulness. It is important to tap into one's inner self every day, reminding oneself of one's true nature as a powerful creator. Various tools are invaluable in this journey of self-discovery. Meditation helps to calm a troubled mind, revision serves the purpose of healing the wounds of the past, and the practice of living in the end opens the door to the manifestation of innermost desires. It is advisable to keep a journal of one's manifestations and revisions, not as a burdensome duty, but as a joyful celebration of one's ability to transform reality. One should not forget that one is not alone in this quest for self-realization. Countless other souls are awakening to this same truth, seeking to navigate the intricacies of the simulation of reality with wisdom and purpose. Finding a community of like-minded souls becomes an important aspect of this journey. In a circle of loved ones, one can find support and inspiration, share discoveries, celebrate accomplishments, and offer compassion in moments of adversity. We are all interconnected, and awakening each of us to our true nature contributes to raising the consciousness of the entire planet. One can imagine a world where more and more people realize their power as conscious creators, a world where love, abundance, and joy are not rare exceptions, but the accepted norm. A new reality is being born before our eyes, built by a common effort, where every idea, every conviction, and every creative action becomes a brick in the foundation of the future. As you open new horizons, bravely face all the adventures that life has in store for you. Remember that on this path there are inevitable triumphs and failures, sharp turns and unexpected obstacles, but in spite of everything, it is in your hands that the pen with which your own history is written. Each of you is a creator, capable of dreaming and making your dreams come true. So write boldly, dream without limits, and live every moment of your life in its entirety. This exciting journey is just beginning. You are entering a world of limitless possibilities where you no longer have to guess what fate has in store for you, because now you determine your own future. Simulation of your life is a field for research, experimentation, and self-improvement. Are you ready to take control and become the master of your destiny? If this message resonates in your heart, accept it, share it with others, bring it to life, and let us together create a world where everyone remembers their true nature. For it is within you that lies the power to transform your reality. Welcome to a new world, a world created by your conscious creativity, a world that belongs to you by right.